So moving on to the next one here. For anyone just joining us, I'm Jamie Stevenson, Dream Logician on Twitter and Twitch and Ludum and all that good stuff. Anthony's going to be providing commentary. He's Brightstar on the Ludum site. So our next game is Attractor by a name that I'm probably not going to try to pronounce, but you can see it right there. So this is a compo entry, so solo development. Survive as long as possible against never-ending waves of self-learning AI opponents. Interesting. Each wave, a genetic algorithm advances a step, making it more difficult to survive. Ooh, cool. How do you defend yourself? You have gravity on your side. Use your attractor to deflect and reflect the shots of the enemies right back at them. Controls are WASD to move, mouse to control the attractor, and then left mouse button to activate it. Okay. I need to actually get into the habit of starting to download these things before I start reading the description, but I just get so caught up. So, we'll download this. Yeah. Sure. Allow for now. Okay. And extract this. So my actual background is as an AI programmer, or part of my background, so this will be interesting. I haven't done as much stuff with genetic algorithms, but it's, already the concept is appealing to me inherently. All right, so here we go. Attractor. I'm going to put on some headphones. Oh, okay. Whoops. This is what happened last time with the antivirus on here.
Just let it be.
Let it be. No problems found. Alright. The resolution is not exactly ideal here.
Why not?
What was that?
Why not?
I just feel like part of the screen's getting cut off.
No.
So, don't really know what I can do about that because it seems to be fixed.
No.
What kind of active was the Unity available?
What was that?
Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, I didn't see any options. Okay. So. Activate. To divert these bullets. So it goes in waves, they said, and each wave presumably is getting a bit more intelligent based on some sort of genetic algorithm. Yeah, see, they're definitely like doing the sort of trying out of random stuff that you would sort of expect.
Manipulate the bullets.
Yep. Manipulate the bullets. This is true. Although the actual nature of it is still a little confusing to me. It says it's an attractor. Basically make them just move towards the center of the attractor, I guess.
Yeah.
Make that fun. Oh, okay. I was starting to really figure things out. Bam!
Yeah, you got it.
lot of them stuck down here where I can't see them. Okay.
What do you think of the audio, JB?
It's fine. It's very, very simple. Yep, they're getting better. They're getting smarter. Yeah, and I'm not getting smarter. I'm evolving at a much slower rate than these enemies. Not much is clear. 6 waves. Alright, let's give this a shot here. I'm still not really comprehending the attractor very well.
Try swishing it around. Moving it around.
What was that? So you're suggesting that if I keep it stationary, I'll have better luck? That's what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah. Got ourselves into a mess here. Jeepers.
I'm gonna get away from those walls. You're not gonna get any bullets.
Ugh. Alright. Note to self, stay away from
Stuck in
the
the
spawn
walls.
point.
Is that the only spot they spawn from?
Seems to be. I wonder, do they have a limited lifespan? Or do they only die when a bullet hits them? Yeah, so they seem to have a limited lifespan, which would kind of make sense. If you're wanting to, if they're only evolving with each new wave, you want to kind of get through the waves in a fixed period of time, so... Although I haven't really mastered the attractor mechanic, for the first few waves I feel like I can just kind of leave them alone until they start to get a little smarter. Yeah, well. Of course that didn't
You
work out
should have
very well
used
for me.
it there.
I'm trying to think, I feel like there was at least a few other examples of kind of shmups that had this sort of like evolving AI. I can't place the names of any of them offhand, but it might have been like AI Wars or something like that. There was one that was like a kind of space shmup that was all based on that, these kind of large scale space battles between like AI controlled ships that you could then sort of tune their AI. I think at least partially or perhaps fully based on sort of genetic algorithm type things where they would have some learning behavior as they got into more skirmishes. But yeah, as for myself, my learning behavior is not being demonstrated.
Let
at the
me
moment.
try.
Oh, Anthony wants to jump in. So I'm gonna take one more shot at it this time, and then we'll swap out for Anthony.
Do you press the left mouse button to turn on the magnet there?
Yes. See, that's when the bullets turn pink.
That looks purple to me. Do the purple bullets hurt you? Do you get...
I believe so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So then you can... Otherwise you'd be able to hide in the circle.
Yes. You could. That's correct. See, it's because they have this sort of orienting around thing. You need to kind of be diverting them in a more open space where they actually have space to move around without hitting the walls. I mean, you can use it in here as just like a shield, I guess, but see, doesn't quite do it. It's interesting. It's kind of pitting my own sort of human learning of this thing, which I find to have a fairly steep learning curve.
Let me try.
The AI. I'm personally more interested in the AI thing, so I'm probably focusing on that. Like, I'm wanting to see how their behaviors change. More so than really learn how to use this attractor.
What'd you do? Where'd the game go?
It's the
Oh, it's
exe
right there.
file.
Oh, I see. You're trying to play it.
ld32.exe, right there. I feel like it makes the bullets move towards the center once you've like activated them. See if Anthony is able to best my current high score of 6 waves survived. Confidence in his abilities. More so than my own. Currently mesmerized by this game. So how do you feel, Ant? Do you feel like you're grasping the attractor and how it works?
Somewhat.
Okay. I'm starting to be a little more aggressive here, and how quickly they're managing to get over to the left. Some stellar use of the attractor. It's very good that the enemies die off after a certain amount of time, because in that situation there didn't seem to be much way for the player to kill that enemy. So now that they're kind of pouring into the center, and Ant has kind of figured out a way to seemingly kill off a lot of them in that case, then we would hopefully see them evolving to not necessarily continue doing that over time. It might take a few waves, depending, so we don't know the details of precisely how it's working, but... So yeah, you see they've switched up their behavior a little bit.
I wonder if I'm manipulating them at all with this?
I don't think so. I think that again, they're probably learning based on the amount of time that they survive. I don't know what else the kind of fitness function for this would be based on. Normally, you know, you have these different sample agents, and then you want to kind of have some notion of evaluating their success, and how well they did at whatever their goal is, and then you can kind of gauge whether or not they're sort of evolving towards the goal that you want them to reach. So certainly survival time for the enemies is probably a factor, I would imagine. Because you only have one life, so it's not like they can gauge how many times they actually hit you with the bullet. I don't really see how that would factor in at all. There could be some notion of like their enemy's average distance from the player. Like how close are they actually getting to reaching the player? That would probably be a good way of balancing it out, because if it was just, you know, if the fitness function was only based on the enemy's survival time, then they could just be going off into a corner. And because we've kind of established that the way the mechanics work, they're basically unkillable when they're that close to a wall, or it's very difficult, then that would basically be like a perfect evolution for them if that was the only criteria. So I'm assuming that kind of distance to the player is maybe the other factor that the developer of this has taken into account. But this is all just my own guesswork, again, based on my experience as an AI programmer, having little to no experience with genetic algorithms, but a kind of vague understanding of the concept behind them. Well then. So yeah, you can see like they're going straight towards you. They haven't kind of seemed to learn like how to kind of get around a large barrier like that. And if it's solely based on distance, then again they might think they're doing fairly well at this point, because the actual distance to you is pretty darn close. It's just there happens to be a wall in the way, so it's not really a very great measure of how successful they are. So who knows, like there may be some other factor that will allow them to evolve beyond that point. But if not, I would say you've developed a pretty good strategy here. Like potentially you've kind of defeated the AI, like the genetic algorithm at this point. We'll see. If they keep on doing this same basic thing, then that to me indicates that I'm correct about what I'm assuming it's evaluating them based on. Yeah, I don't know if this factors in, but you know, a third, this is just me playing sort of armchair designer, but a third criterion that I would introduce would be the enemy's average distance from the other enemies. Because you think, you know, if you want them to evolve optimally as a group to threaten the player, you kind of want them spread out. So, like, here we see them, like, really clustering a lot. So I'm guessing that's not necessarily a factor, but either that or it's just taking a long time for that to really play in. But that's another thing that you would kind of want is, you know, how close is the average enemy to the player? How far away? You want them to be more spread out from each other. And then how long do they survive as well? because they really seem to be evolving to hug walls, as you can see. Like, and so that's a really interesting evolution from the way that you were playing, where, you know, when they were going out in that center area in the open, like, you were just slaughtering them, effectively. So they seem to have really evolved to, you know, although now they're changing it up a little bit again. But for a while there, they were just really being very cautious about, like, open spaces, kind of sticking to walls. Oh, okay, here we go. Here we go now. It's just got a little bit more interesting. Oh, well, very nice. 33. I'd say that tops my previous record of 6 by a decent margin. Cool. I'm all set to rate it then.
Cool.
Should we swap out?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so let's take a look here. So that was Attractor. Again, developed by one person in 48 hours. In terms of ratings, so innovation, I mean, I would put it fairly high, again, just because I have seen a few kind of shmups that base their AI on these sort of genetic algorithms, but not many. There was like one that was fairly popular, but I'm blanking on the name. I think it was actually AI Wars. I'll look that up though, quick. AI War Fleet Command. So I could be wrong that that's actually that had anything to do with genetic algorithms. I just knew it was kind of an AI focused sort of shmup. So this was more of RTS or 4X game. Well, anyway, but yeah, I think it's still a really cool idea and fairly innovative. Fun. I had a blast, but the part that was fun for me was trying to figure out like how what I was doing was affecting the evolution, and like what Anthony, like I had more fun watching Ant actually play and then trying to analyze like how what he was doing was influencing the evolution of these enemies. So that was cool. The actual Attractor mechanic I didn't find to be especially fun. But you know, if I had a weapon that I had more control over and that I could use to like perfectly destroy the enemies, then like that would have a very different relationship with the evolution mechanic. So I can kind of, I think, see why like a slightly more indirect and harder to control weapon that like worked better in certain locations based on the geometry of the level, like seemed to work better in open spaces. I can see why that matches up quite well with the idea of evolution. So, but to me, it didn't necessarily equate to a ton of fun when I was actually in control. But I really had fun, like just kind of thinking about the way that it worked. So yeah, I enjoyed it. The theme, I think this is a great use of the theme, and you know, yeah, I mean, just a very atypical approach to it. Both, you know, the Attractor is kind of a cool atypical weapon, and then the kind of enemies being based on this genetic algorithm, you could argue, like factors into the theme as well. So graphics, you know, I wouldn't even necessarily be inclined to rate this on graphics necessarily. They were just kind of functional. I'll just put it at a kind of an average score. They weren't really important to the overall game, I didn't feel. The audio was, again, like there wasn't a whole heck of a lot to it, and that was fine for this type of game. And again, mood, I don't really feel like that's a category that is the most important for this game to succeed. Overall, I loved it, but I'm really inclined to I'm inclined to find this sort of thing interesting. So I think, you know, the only thing that would have been a little bit cooler would have been to be able to like have some more stuff maybe that's optionally displayed to the player about like how they're evolving, like what types of strategies they're attempting. Obviously that's not like actually taking a genetic algorithm and all the different permutations it's going through and somehow translating that into like a form that's kind of explaining in like plain text or something what's going on is not the easiest thing to do, I recognize. So but even just like, again, some idea of like being able to visualize the fitness scores, maybe of the individual agents or whatever, and like how well they felt they did in each wave, and kind of see how that was going was cool. But it was still kind of fun just to try to infer that as well without kind of being told what the factors were. So anyway, I really, really liked it, so I'm going to give it a 5, but that's mostly my own bias. And then I'm going to go rate it in my own account and leave a comment as Dream Logician. But cool, thanks a bunch. So that was Attractor, and really cool entry. Definitely recommend everybody check it out.
Oh, I see. All right, so